On April 28th, President Barack Obama nominated former NC Supreme Court Justice Patricia Timmons-Goodson, presently the Vice Chair of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, to fill the 10-year vacant seat on the federal court in Eastern North Carolina. This empty seat is in a place where what many call the white court. It is the longest running vacancy since January 2006 in the federal court system, and we are deeply, deeply concerned. I want to talk about how we see what Senator Burr is doing, and then call on Congressman G.K. Butterfield to give us the story. Now, the reason we call on him today is in his role. He is a congressman from the 1st Congressional District, but he is the chairperson of the Congressional Black Caucus, which is nonpartisan. Any member, I believe, can join the Congressional Caucus regardless of their party. And we're honored to have G.K. Butterfield, one of our own, a former Supreme Court justice in this state, to be the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Give him a hand today. We'll call him in just a second. Members of the media, as president of the North Carolina NAACP and with the Forward Together Tomorrow Monday movement, I want to be very pointed this morning. We hear a lot about tone, but we in the NAACP look at substance. Richard Burr is not as loud as Trump with his words, but his actions are louder. Trump talks about building a wall. Senator Burr has built a wall, a political wall, against two superbly qualified women, black women, for the Eastern District Federal Court, and he erected a wall trying to block Loretta Lynch, but she was able to overcome that. Trump says irrational things with no factual basis. Senator Burr actually does irrational things, like blocking two superbly qualified black women from judicial appointments to the Eastern District Federal Court that has never had an African American to serve in that court since the founding of this republic. It looks like Rosa Parks never sat down and the civil rights movement never happened. Trump talks about policy discrimination. Senator Burr engages in discrimination. Carolyn, Ms. Coleman, and I can tell you, members of the National Board, that he is rated 21% by the NAACP, which is an anti-civil rights record, a failing record. Trump talks like a regressive radical extremist when you look at his voting record. Burr actually votes like one. He opposed the Affordable Care Act that would help thousands of women, especially black women and poor white women. He opposed Medicaid expansion that would provide 500,000 North Carolinians, poor, working, black, brown, and even white women, access to health care. He supports HB 2 that hurts women and African Americans and families who need a living wage and the right to file employment discrimination in state court. So Senator Burr may be cool, calm, and somewhat quiet in his demeanor, and quieter than Trump, but his actions, his obstructions, and his decisions are as loud and as boisterous and as radical as Trump. And nothing exposes it more clearly than his extreme, discriminatory, and racist stance against three of the most qualified black women in history, not just in North Carolina's history, but in history. And first Jennifer May Parker, then now U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and now former Supreme Court Justice Patricia Timmons-Goodson. Lastly, he tries to twist out of this by blaming President Obama. Yeah. It's amazing how President Obama gets blamed for everything. Now here's Senator Burr's argument, that because of the way President Obama did it, he's not going to even allow Patricia Timmons-Goodson to have a hearing. It's not even a matter, Jimmy, of whether or not he's going to vote. He's afraid he won't even allow her to be heard. Nor did he do Jennifer May Parker, nor did he want that to happen for Loretta Lynch. You can't blame Obama, Senator Burr. This is like refusing to graduate a student who is a valedictorian because you don't like the principal. Or it is as old as back in the days prior to the end of Jim Crow. White Southern politicians would say, well, I would support a certain black person, but you know the law is segregation, so I really can't do it. It's a cop-out. Yeah. He has not led on restoring the Voting Rights Act. He has led in being an obstructionist. And we in the NAACP, the Forward Together Moral Movement, black, white, and Latino, say to Burr, do what Ronald Reagan said to Russia. Tear down this wall. Tear down this racially discriminatory wall of obstruction and allow this nomination to have a hearing. And if you refuse, explain to North Carolina and explain to America this question, or answer this question: what do you have against black women? Let's welcome our Congressman.
Let me say good morning. Good morning. I am Congressman G.K. Butterfield, representing the 1st Congressional District of North Carolina, which includes many of the 44 counties in the Eastern District of North Carolina, which is the judgeship that we are talking about today. I'm also the chairman of the 46-member Congressional Black Caucus. Collectively, we represent 30 million people in America. And I want to thank Reverend Barber and the North Carolina Conference of the NAACP for inviting me to come to share just a few words with you today. I want to publicly thank the North Carolina NAACP for its extraordinary work. I cannot imagine where we would be in North Carolina but for the work over the last 50, 75 years of the North Carolina Conference of the NAACP. I know its history and I know it well. Thank you. I've come today to talk about the importance of judicial diversity. North Carolina is divided into 3 districts: the Eastern District with 44 counties, Middle District, Western District. Each district has 4 federal judges. These judges serve for life. They have awesome power as a federal judge. They hear criminal cases, they hear civil cases. The rulings that they make, 90% of the time, if not more, are never overturned or disturbed on appeal. Typically, the decision of a federal judge is a final decision in a contested case. And so it matters immensely who serves on the federal district court. But we're concentrating today on the Eastern District of North Carolina. There has never, in the history of the Eastern District, ever been an African-American judge to sit on that court. Never in its history. Even though 35% of the Eastern District is African-American, there's never been a single black judge. And so when President Obama became president, I encouraged Senator Hagan and Senator Burr and the president to nominate an African-American to serve in the vacancy that existed on the court. There has been a vacancy now for more than 10 years in the Eastern District. Judge Britt went to senior status on December 31st, 2005. Beginning on January 1st of 2006 until this very moment, there has been a vacancy. When President Obama became president, I personally encouraged him, I encouraged our senators, and the Republican leadership, all of the leadership in the United States Senate, to fill that seat with an African American. Well, Senator Kay Hagan, to her credit, developed a list of 3 individuals and sent those 3 names over to the White House for consideration. On that list were 2 African Americans, 1 African American male, 1 an African American female, and the other a white male from Wilmington, Judge Allen Cobb. All 3 of the individuals that she submitted are personal friends of mine. I have known all 3 of them for years, and each one is a capable individual who could do the job and do it well. But we are talking about diversity. Not only do we need excellence in the court, we need diversity on the court. And so President Obama looked at the 3 names and chose Jennifer May Parker as the person that he would nominate. Jennifer is a well-qualified, renowned federal prosecutor right here in Raleigh with the Office of the U.S. Attorney. She heads up the appellate division in the U.S. Attorney's Office, very well qualified. He submitted her name, and it languished in the Senate for several years. It languished because of a thing called the blue slip. Many people don't know that a single senator can stop a nomination. That makes no sense to most people, but a single senator can stop a nomination. And Senator Burr stopped the nomination of Jennifer May Parker, told the White House, and told me, quite frankly, repeatedly, that he would accept Judge Cobb from Wilmington to go in that position, but would not agree under any circumstance with Jennifer May Parker becoming the U.S. Attorney. And so the vacancy just languished for years. Then the administrative office of the courts, for the federal courts, declared that seat a judicial emergency, which means that it's critical. That means the administration of justice is suffering because of this vacancy. But that did not move Senator Burr in any respect. And so finally, President Obama withdrew the nomination of Jennifer May Parker and decided that he wanted to start over. And this time he reached down into Fayetteville, North Carolina, and chose a very capable former judge, Justice Patricia Timmons-Goodson, who served as a district court judge, a court of appeals judge, and a North Carolina Supreme Court justice for more than 20 years. When she retired from the bench a couple of years ago, President Obama nominated her to the Civil Rights Commission, where she now serves as the vice chair. There's not a single lawyer, judge, anywhere in North Carolina or in the country who is more capable of serving in the federal district court than Justice Patricia Timmons-Goodson. And so we have come today to say to those who are standing in the way, get out of the way. We are ready to have a diverse federal district court in eastern North Carolina. If you're standing in the way, Senator Burr, get out of the way. Turn in your blue slip. Turn in your blue slip and allow Patricia Timmons-Goodson to have a fair hearing in the United States Senate. Send her name to the floor of the United States Senate for an up or down vote. Before President Obama nominated Patricia Timmons-Goodson, as he does any other federal judge, they are investigated from head to toe. The FBI, the American Bar Association, the Department of Justice, all of these agencies collaborate, and they do extensive background investigations. So there's nothing in her background that would disqualify her for this position. It is absolutely political, and it smells of racism. And so we're going to continue this fight. We are not going to stop until every North Carolinian knows what their senior citizen is doing in the United States Senate, and that is blocking the consideration of a well-qualified African-American woman to be a federal district court judge in North Carolina. I thank you.
Good morning. In 2015, the president nominated North Carolina's Loretta Lynch to be the first Black woman Attorney General of the United States. Burr was adamant in opposing her. He and his junior colleague, Tom Tillis treated a busload of women when women in NAACP in a patronizing manner when we rented a bus and we drove up to the U.S. Senate last year. Burr was condescending and patronizing to us. Burr talked about the distinguished U.S. Attorney of Greensboro and Durham, daughter of Reverend and Mrs. Lorenzo Lynch, as if she was a child, and he talked to us as if we were children. Senator Burr, what's your problem? You cannot treat women the way, and definitely you would not treat African American women that way. Ain't I a woman? And we do vote. Right now, I would like to call up Ms. Carolyn Coleman.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Carolyn Coleman, First Vice President of this mighty North Carolina State Conference of NAACP branches. I am pleased to read a statement from my friend Representative Alma Adams, who represents the North Carolina 12th Congressional District, and of course cannot be here today, but certainly wanted you to hear from her. She says, "Thank you all for hosting this important event on the issue of judicial nominees. I am greatly disappointed in our North Carolina senators," and she includes both of them, "for refusing to do the very basic part of their jobs, which is to vote on federal court judges, particularly when we have well-qualified judges such as Patricia Timmons-Goodson waiting in queue. What is even more disheartening is the lack of cooperation from the Republican majority in the Senate to work with our president to put forth qualified nominees, such as the nomination of Merrick Garland to the United States Supreme Court. This is why on Monday morning, I am sending a letter to Senators Burr and Tillis, urging them to request that the Senate take up the nominations of Patricia Timmons-Goodson and Merrick Garland. It is my hope that the United States Senate will put aside partisan politics and uphold its constitutional responsibilities by giving President Obama's nominees the respect they deserve, holding an up or down vote. I call upon this on them on Monday morning. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Carolyn P. McDougall, the second Vice President of the state of North Carolina. The Chairman Congressional Black Caucus, G.K. Butterfield, who was raised and served in the Black Belt of North Carolina his entire life, says justice for Patricia Timmons-Goodson is an excellent choice. Her character and reputations are beyond reproach. This vacancy has been deemed to be jurisdiction emergency by the Administration Office of the United States of the Courts. It is the responsibility of the Republican leadership in the United States courts to conduct a hearing and proceed a vote with nomination. Thank you.
Members of the media that are here, we will certainly have time afterwards for interviews. WRL and others that are live streaming us this morning, they've called and let us know that they're getting their story from this live stream and picking it up as well as AP across the state. I'm going to be asking Ms. Coleman, you and the other vice presidents we get together and hold a series, or at least press conferences right in front of Burr's office in Winston-Salem. In Winston-Salem and in Greenville. Is it Greenville? Yes, Rocky Mount. And so Brother Courtney and Brother Spearman will need you to coordinate, and then the two Carolyns, that we get together. We're not going to let this issue alone. In a time when we are battling in the court for voting rights, we need a diverse and a fair federal court in the Eastern District. All of the counties that are more than 50% black are east of 95. And it is, again, a tragedy. It looks like, in the Eastern District Court, looks like Fannie Lou Hamer never marched. It looks like Medgar Evers was never killed. It looks like Martin was never killed. It looks like there never was a Selma to Montgomery. I was just in Montgomery yesterday. I was right there where Rosa Parks first sat down on that books, and this district looks like it never happened. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, some of the deeper South states are ahead of us in terms of appointment of black judges. That is unacceptable. And so, Senator Burr, you've been in the way of restoring the Voting Rights Act. You've tried to block Medicaid expansion, and you have used a blue slip to undermine the red, white, and blue, the American way, refusing to even give 2 black women a hearing. So your blue slip puts a black eye on our democracy. And we say, Senator Burr, say this with me, this is an emergency.
This is an emergency.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Tear down this wall of racism and obstruction and give us a justice on the federal court in Eastern North Carolina. Diversify the court. Do right by these black women. Do right by all North Carolinians. This is an emergency. Get out of the way. Tear down this wall of obstruction, racism. The time to do it is right now. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much.